Okay, so today is the last bit of notes for this unit. So we are going into specialty media and media rates. So specialty media is media that's like extra special, I guess. So giveaways or different specialties on advertisements. So usually it's relatively inexpensive but useful products that are imprinted with like the company's name, message, or logo. So in order to be considered specialty media, it needs to be practical and used frequently and carry the identity of the business sponsoring them. So always a good example of this is like the pens that are handed out from different universities and banks and all that good stuff, because they are practical and should be used frequently. I know I use pens every day, but the disadvantage of this is that there's always like limited distribution of the items, so you can only get it so far. So if you order 500 pens, you can only hand out 500 pens. All right, so now we are getting into media rates. So we're doing all of this different media, we're looking at different mediums, and you want to look at the rates and how you measure them for them to be cost effective for your company or your brand. So media planners must consider the different types of mediums, which we've learned about. So like the print, the radio, broadcasting, the TV, all of that good stuff, social media. So looking at the different types of mediums, how much they cost, and this helps to measure the effectiveness of them. And there's different ways that you can measure media. The first way is frequency, so that is the number of times an audience sees or hears an advertisement. And there's also impressions, which is a single exposure to an advertisement message. So when you're measuring, there's something called the cost per thousand, or commonly called CPM, and that is the media measurement cost of exposing 1,000 readers or viewers to an advertising impression. So this is used to determine the cost of effectiveness of different types of media. So generally that means like if you're online and you have an advertisement on a specific website, so let's just say Facebook has an advertisement for a clothing company on the side. So every time that advertisement gets popped up, for every 1,000 readers, and then they're taking into consideration how many people are actually clicking it, and that's like that impression. There are different types of measurements. So in TV, media measurement is usually based on data that's collected by AC Nielsen Media Research. And when it comes to radio advertising, Arbitron Company is a good one to look at for measuring radio because it's in more than 260 markets. And then when it comes to media rates, so media rates are like, sorry, I think I'm up one. So media costs vary not only by the types, but also by the location and the audience. So rates can depend on the location, the space, the time. So for example, if you are trying to do a commercial and you put it on a local TV station versus a national TV station, that can make the difference in price a lot. That can make the price a lot different. It can also depend on like the timing of it. So if you're putting your commercial on a local TV station at 2 p.m. versus putting your commercial on national television during prime times, like 7 o'clock, that's going to cost a lot different. And depending on like how long it is, so if it's 30 seconds versus 60 seconds, that space that you're taking up, all of those can help differ the rates and how much it would cost to actually do that. So here are some of the general media rates for different types of print media. So for newspapers, they have something called the column inch rate, and what that is an area that is 1 column wide by 1 inch deep. So what they do is they take the number of columns that you're using for your advertisement and times it by the number of inches it's taking up, and that would equal the total column inches. And then once they have the total column inches, they times that by whatever rate they're using, and then that equals that newspaper rate. So for example, if your total column inches, let's just say, are 4, and then the rate is 25 cents, you do 4 times 5.25, and you would get your newspaper rate. When it comes to magazines, these can differ a lot because there are discounts that are offered to advertisers. So if you're getting a discount, then it would be a lot different than somebody who's not getting a discount. And magazines are more like sections, I guess, of the magazine. So if you're doing like a half an ad versus a full page versus a quarter of a page. When it comes to radio, again, this is kind of like how I gave that example before of how the rates work depending on geographical location and time and space. So depending on if you're on a network versus a national spot versus the local radio, the rates would definitely depend on that, as well as they would be higher during like the early morning or late afternoon because those are the prime times when people are driving and using their car. So when you're driving into work or to school versus when you're driving home from work or school. And then television, I kind of talked about this as well earlier. Television, the prime time hours are 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So that's when you want your commercial on, but that's when everybody wants their commercial on. So that's why those rates would go up as well. And then when it comes to the internet, it all varies on the type of display that you're looking for. So whether it's a banner ad or just one on the side, and depending on how big it is, that can change the rate as well and how much time you're keeping it up there. So if you're advertising on like some sort of a blog and you keep it up there for only a month versus advertising on that same blog for 3 months, that would definitely change it. And rates are set on the CPM rate based on page views. So it's based on how many people are actually viewing that site. So if you have it up there for a month and literally no one looks at that site, you're not going to have to pay. But if you're on there for a month and 20,000 people view that site, then you're going to have to pay the CPM 20 times. Hopefully that makes sense. So when it comes to calculating the CPM, you are looking at the cost of the ad, so it's the number of thousands of people who see it. Okay, there we go. So the equation for CPM is the cost of the ad divided by the number of people in thousands. So if an ad costs $30,000 and reaches 940,000 people, what would the CPM be? So remember, the cost of the ad is $30,000 and you are dividing that by 940,000. And that is it for your notes for today. I would like you to do this and put the correct answer in the Google form, which I have. I think that's the only question that's on it. All right, so get to work on your portfolio project. All right, bye.